Israel demolishes Bedouin homes, seizes solar power units in the West Bank.
Here's a summary of the article.
Israeli forces demolished 11 Palestinian-owned homes this morning in the Bedouin village of Al-Kabboun, to the northeast of Ramallah in the occupied West Bank, reported Wafa news agency. Local activist, Faiz Kabna, told Wafa that the Israeli occupation forces also seized tractors, water tankers and solar power units. Dismantling Palestinian homes and shelters is part of a larger Israeli campaign aimed at emptying all of the Bedouin communities in the area in favor of the Israeli colonial settlement enterprise. According to Palestinian sources, Israeli authorities demolished more than 500 Palestinian homes and businesses in occupied East Jerusalem and the West Bank in the past year alone. On Monday, Michael Link, UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the occupied Palestinian territories, condemned the unlawful and heartless actions of Israeli authorities in repeatedly demolishing homes belonging to the Palestinian Bedouin communities in the occupied West Bank. Read, Israel blocks access of relief aid to Bedouin community. As the occupying power, Israel is strictly forbidden from destroying Palestinian property unless it is absolutely required by military necessity during active armed operations.
This post received a score of 36,000, with an upvote ratio of 85%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
This is the best TLDR I could make. Israel demolishes Bedouin village. Steals tractors, tankers, other non-military assets. Oversteps bounds, per usual.
And the world shrugs, per usual.
US responds by selling billions more in armaments to Israel.
To be specific, America is selling weapons that Israel pay for using U.S. taxpayer money that has been donated to Israel for the explicit purpose of buying U.S. arms.
And the cycle of life continues.
Local activist, Faiz Karabneh, told Wafa that the Israeli occupation forces also seized tractors, water tankers and solar power units. A real threat to the IDF. Basic machinery for farming.
I see you haven't played CNC, generals. Those tractors are no joke.
Potency. Guaranteed. Can I have some new shoes? P.S. Scud launch detected.
I can perfectly hear both this, and, okay, I will work, in my mind when I read them.
You change your mind often.
This hammer is heavy.
I will obey.
Does it have to be so far?
Pant.
It saddens me that this kind of news doesn't surprise me anymore. When will the US withhold their veto powers in UN Security Councils? This is getting insane. How many more victims will there have to be made?
You'll hear it 30 years later, how Israel had to defend themselves, but these news? They will be perished by the sands of time.
Hopefully, because of the internet, records from the few news organizations willing to publish news about Israel will still exist. But considering how underreported news about Israel, Palestine is in my own country, the narrative will probably omit all the inhumanity of occupation, the history of violent dispossession, and ethnic cleansing.
Did they remember to cut down all the olive trees in the area too?
Harvest the olives first, cut down trees and use the wood to burn Palestinian homes. We live in 2021, so terrorizing has to be ecological.
By some standards, that would be recycling. They should be able to sell carbon credits.
The worst part of this is that as a global community, we're apparently content letting Israel continue to do whatever they want and oppress people.
Letting? The US is enabling that by funding and arming Israel?
And unilaterally vetoing UN resolution after resolution.
Say the US didn't veto the next one. What would happen?
Stern letters and tutting, the most scathing of sorts.
Dear Israel, please stop, immediately. Sincerely, the UN.
Israel being Israel, killing people left and right. Kicking them off their own land and stealing. Even destroying structures financed by the UN. And the only reason they can do it is the veto power of the US.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.